Welcome again to my IELTS preparation course. As usual, or as always, I'm your instructor, Joseph Emil, and you're taking this course to prepare yourself for the IELTS test and to get as many marks as possible for your IELTS certificate. If you have been following the last 4 sessions, I have completed the listening module and told you most of the, or all of the strategies involved with it, and I'm now in my reading module, and hopefully we'll be able to finish it today, but if not, we will finish at least 90% of it. Now I'm going to recap what we learned, not necessarily the exercises themselves, but what we learned in our reading lessons, the previous one and the one before it. While reading, try your best to understand the text. I know that it might be very easy to say but difficult to do, but still, when you understand the text, you will have a better chance of answering the questions after it. So I'm not talking, or I'm not saying to read the text first, but at least when you read it, try to understand it while reading it very quickly. How you do this? Every paragraph has a separate main idea. So let's say you have an essay that consists of 6 paragraphs, the introduction, the conclusion, and 4 other paragraphs. It's very likely that you'll be dealing with 4 ideas. 4 ideas. Maybe there will be an additional idea somewhere in one of the paragraphs, so 5. But it's very unlikely for a paragraph to have more than 2 ideas. Okay, so it's just 1 or 2 ideas at the most. You will see that every paragraph is very methodical. They will have a topic sentence, something to, shall we say, introduce what they are talking about. Okay, like an introduction for the paragraph, as opposed to an introduction for an essay or a piece or an article. So you have an introduction for the paragraph, which is called a topic sentence, and then you have the main idea. The main idea is the main sentence of the paragraph, and it's usually the sentence that can, shall we say, stay, or that should stay in the paragraph. The sentence that you can remove the entire paragraph, but just keep it. So that's the main idea. Of course, there are supporting ideas with this main idea. This may come in the form, or these supporting ideas may come in the form of examples or explanations, maybe paraphrasing. They are rephrasing their idea so that it is clearer for the reader. Of course, they can even use expressions like "in other words." In other words, I'm talking about this expression here. In other words. Alright? This expression here means that they are beginning a second sentence to support the first sentence by paraphrasing. So the topic sentence, the main idea, and the supporting idea are the primary contents of the paragraph. Generally, there might also be a conclusion that restates the main idea to affirm it, to make sure that you learn or understand the main idea. Now, while you're reading the paragraph, try to mentally summarize it. Try to mentally summarize it. To summarize it, try to write a summary of the paragraph, even if you have to write just 1 sentence on the margin. Like whenever you read a paragraph, there is a small space here on the right or the left of the paragraph here. Okay, this one needs to, it's always, just a moment, try your best to put some sort of sentence to explain the paragraph around here. Okay, so that's how you mentally summarize every paragraph. Try to replace every paragraph with a sentence that says what it's talking about. Usually, if you just underline the main idea, it will be just as good. And of course, in the reading, the questions are 90% of the time in order. So if you actually read the questions, then read the paragraph, okay, it might help you. It might. Of course, there are some questions that you will have to solve using other methods because they are not in order, but 90% of the time you're good. So let's start with our with the topic we were talking about last time, chocolates. Chocolate. So they were talking about how the chocolate market is very big, huge to be more accurate. We're talking about 5.2 billion and so on and so forth. We have already solved the exercises associated with this article, but we have left a small bit, the vocabulary. We just need to learn some vocabulary associated with this article. It's not very difficult, to be honest. Let's take a look at the market here. Market is, of course, the market here. And if you want to have a verb with market, it's the same thing, market. All right? That's the verb. All right? So if you market a product to someone, you are, shall we say, convincing him to buy it. Okay? So there are lots. There's even a discipline in the Faculty of Commerce called marketing. Marketing is learning how to make advertisements well. Now, who is the person doing the market or doing the marketing? Is the marketer. Okay? Marketer is the person who is concerned with marketing anything. Related phrases, let's take a look here at the phrase that this marketing is used in. Let's see here. So we take a look here, market, maybe confectionery market. All right, confectionery market, if you can see it here. Here we are. So that's the confectionery market. There are, of course, other types of market. The European market, maybe. All right. In Europe, the market is estimated to worth over maybe market growth. There are lots of phrases that have market in them. Okay. Let's take a look at the next phrase. So maybe market growth. All right. Market growth. What about sales? Of course, if you are doing sales to someone, you're selling him something. Sell. Just that. Of course, it's opposite to buy. I don't think you need to know that, or I need me to tell you this small thing. And here, who is the person who does the sales? He can be the seller or the salesman. Okay, seller or salesman. Of course, what's the difference between seller and salesman? The seller is the person doing the sale in a specific situation. So if you are having a contract of buying, let's say you bought a mobile phone, okay? So you will have you will have a contract, and you will have to sign in two spaces in the contract. I'm talking about a space for the consumer, the buyer, and the person who sold him the mobile phone, the seller. But a salesman is a general expression that is used to denote someone whose job is to sell things. All right? Related phrases, maybe, let's see here. What are some of the phrases that can have sales in them? They are definitely included in the market sales, chocolate sales here. All right? Maybe, let's see here. Market, resilient, Pamela, Swiss Nestle, exported production, more than Nestle property. confectionery sales as well. So maybe they're talking, or we are talking about the sales of certain items. So here it is. Let's just skip this related phrases and just write the verbs here. Growth, of course, grow, right? And the person who is causing the growth or who is growing, grower, all right? This phrase is very uncommon. Usually grower is someone who grows, shall we say, crops, plants. Okay, a grower is someone who is growing plants, is planting it, the farmer. Now, retail, again, the verb is to retail. All right, retail, of course, the name of the person doing the retail is the retailer. Who is a retailer? He's the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper. He is the shopkeeper. The verb is the process in which someone sells something to someone else. Okay. Sometimes it can also be said on items. So they say this television retails at 5,000 pounds. That's huge. So maybe 500 pounds. Okay, so this television retails at 500 pounds at several stores. Okay, let's take a look at another one. Brand. Okay, brand, of course, is also the verb, not brand. All right. You can brand someone, so put a mark on him. Okay, so a very general expression is to brand someone a traitor. Brand. Okay, so let's say that someone is betraying his country. Okay, and you marked him. You made everyone know that he is a traitor. Traitor. So the person is brander. Okay, these verbs, okay, are some not very common. Okay, let's take a look at the industry now. This is a very common word. Industry, so of course manufacture. All right, it's not very or it's not common to say that someone is industry. There is nothing called industry. Okay, and industry is referred to the general صناعة. The person who does the industry, okay, it's no one actually, maybe a businessman or a manufacturer. All right, stocks, to stock. All right, that's the verb. To stock is to stockpile something, is to have or to shall we say, accumulate an amount of something, to stock something. And then we have the launch maybe a missile, launch a missile, okay, or launch a rocket into space. What about the launcher? It's maybe these are very general expressions. Okay, so now we're done with this small task. I just wanted to finish this small exercise at the end of the at the end of the last phrase, and you understood some words here. They are not very common or are very simple, but I would say that the most important word is seller and salesman, the difference between seller and salesman. Okay, let's just carry on. Now we're talking about summarizing, not summarize. Let's take a look at this slide here. Now, of course, when we read, we make a mental note of the main ideas of a text, the main idea, so that we have an overall understanding of it. All right? So we need to learn So we need to learn how to, okay, just a moment. All right. So, okay. So first here, let's take a look here at the text again, sorry. We have an overall understanding of the text. So once you find the main idea, underline it and then make note of it. Try to write it at the side of the margin, or try to explain the paragraph in your own words, okay? Most of the time the main idea will be written itself. So, okay, so let's take a look at A. First, prehistoric insects spawn new drugs. By the way, spawn is when an insect reproduces. So an insect spawns little small insects. By the way, insects are the fastest in reproduction, which is why spawning might be a bit of a, not very common word. But now we understood what spawn means. It's when insects reproduce. All right. So that's Steve Connor, science correspondent. Of course, as we know, these articles are taken from various magazines and scientific journals. So you do not have to, or you should expect, actually, you should expect the articles to come from any source. A. Insects entombed in fossilized amber for tens of millions of years have provided the key to creating a new generation of antibiotic drugs that could wage war on modern diseases. Scientists have isolated the antibiotics from microbes found either inside the intestines of the amber-encased insects or in soil particles trapped with them when they were caught by sticky tree resin up to 130 million years ago. Spores of the microbes have survived an unprecedented amount of suspended animation, enabling scientists to revive them in the laboratory. So they're talking about how amber from the trees has trapped insects, and these insects were taken by scientists to create new antibiotics. So the main idea here is insects entombed in fossilized amber for tens of millions of years have provided the key to creating a new generation. And then they explained why, or in what details. As you can see, the main or the topic sentence is more or less this one, right? Of course, you can just try to summarize it. So insects created, or not created, provided the key to creating a new generation or new antibiotics. Then, from the beginning of scientists onward, all right, these are all explanation or supporting sentences, okay? That's a rephrase. He is explaining the meaning or what he means by the fact that insects provided for the scientists. Now, let's take a look at B. Research over the past 2 years has uncovered at least 4 antibiotics from the microbes, and one has been able to kill modern-age drug-resistant bacteria that can cause potentially deadly diseases in humans. So 4 antibiotics, and they can kill modern diseases that are fatal. Present-day antibiotics have nearly all been isolated from microorganisms that use them as a form of defense against their predators or competitors. present-day antibiotics from nearly all has been isolated from microorganisms that use them as a form of defense against their predators or competitors. Alright? But since the introduction of antibiotics into medicine 50 years ago, I think it was introduced in the 1950s, an alarming number have become ineffective because many bacteria have developed resistance to the drugs. Resistance to the drugs. The antibiotics that were in use millions of years ago may prove more deadly against drug-resistant modern strains of disease-causing bacteria. So we're talking about 4 antibiotics that were extracted from the microbes, all right? And these antibiotics were used by the microbes to fight their predators or the competitors, and these microbes were extracted to fight modern-day bacteria that proved to be fatal and resistant to antibiotics created since 15 years ago, or that have been created since 50 years ago, or 50 years, sorry. Anyway, Raúl, I think that's Raúl. I think that's a Spanish name. Raúl Cano. Okay, let's mark the name because it's important. Who has pioneered the research at the, yeah, you expected the text to be short? No, it's long. At the California Polytechnic State University at San Luis Obispo, said the ancient antibiotics had been successful in fighting drug-resistant strains of Staphylococcus bacteria, a superbug that has threatened the health of patients in hospitals throughout the world. He now intends to establish whether the antibiotics might have harmful side effects. The problem is how toxic it is to other cells and how easy it is to purify. Safe Cano. So now we have someone from a university who said that a certain a certain antibiotic has been successful in fighting a certain microbe, but they're finding or trying to research whether it's harmful or not. So that's the topic sentence. Let's carry on. By the way, topic sentence for B is microbes has been able to kill modern drug-resistant bacteria. All right, and then Raúl Cano, the research. All right, research here. A biotechnology company, all right, Ambergene, that's a very important thing, Ambergene, has been set up to develop the antibiotics into drugs. Drugs means medicine, of course, in American English. They're not the drugs, that are sold in the streets. So drugs means medicine. If any ancient microbes are revived that resemble present-day diseases, they will be destroyed in case they escape and cause new epidemics. If any ancient microbes are revived that resemble present-day diseases, they will be destroyed in case they escape and cause new epidemics. Drug companies will be anxious to study the chemical structures of the prehistoric antibiotics to see how, not though, how, okay, how they differ from modern drugs. They hope that one ancient antibiotic molecule can be used as a basis to synthesize a range of drugs. So we're talking about how companies have developed antibiotics into drugs. E. There have been several attempts to extract materials such as DNA from fossilized life forms ranging from Egyptian mummies to dinosaurs, but many were subsequently shown to be contaminated. So DNA is not pure DNA. Let's see what they're talking. Cano's findings have been hailed as a breakthrough by scientists. Edward Goldenberg, an expert, here's another name, Edward Goldenberg. An expert on extracting DNA from fossilized life forms at Wayne State University in Detroit said, they appear to be verifiable ancient spores. Verifiable ancient spores. They do seem to be real. Richard Lenski, again, another name. Professor of microbial ecology at Michigan State University. Here's another university. Said that the fight against antibiotic-resistant strains of bacteria, such as tuberculosis and staphylococcus, could be helped by the discovery. So they say that Kano's findings were breakthrough because or previous DNA here, all right, were polluted or contaminated, all right. So previous DNA was contaminated, so Kano's findings were a breakthrough. Next. However, even the discovery of ancient antibiotics may not halt the rise of drug-resistant bacteria. Stuart Levy, a microbiologist at Tufts University in Boston, warned that the bacteria would eventually evolve to fight back against the new drugs. There might also be an enzyme already out there that can degrade it. So the only way to keep the life of that antibiotic going is to use it sensibly and not excessively. So they are saying that still the bacteria would evolve to fight the antibiotic, and the only way to fight that is to use the antibiotic sensibly. Alright, let's carry on. Now we're going for the question. We have done exactly that, skimming through the passage and underlining the main ideas. Okay? The sentence that summarizes each paragraph is simply this. Is simply every sentence that we used here, that we bracketed, that we placed a bracket on here. But of course, we can use it in a shorter form. So, let's take a look now at some of the questions. Again, this question was not very common in the test, but when it came, it was disastrous. Right? So, I really need you to understand this question and why you need to understand the text very well in order to solve this one. If you cannot just keep this question for last, okay? I'm going to say it like this. Again, these questions are in order. So let's see. Microbes that may supply new antibiotic drugs have been in the bodies of fossilized insects. So of course in the text we are talking about the insects here. Insects in tune have provided something. Scientists have isolated the antibiotics from microbes found either in something or something. So here are the answers. Microbes that may in the bodies. So have been isolated or found or something like that. Deadly, safe, and successful combined. Usual, significant, successful, replaced, no. Preserved, maybe. Careful, contributing, serious, modern, single, prehistoric, excited. What's preserved here? Preserved is to keep from being spoiled. Okay? So actually the answer is that these microbes were preserved by the away from the element, and the scientists found it afterwards. Preserved. Okay, preserved. I'm sure I did a spelling mistake here. Preserved. Next, the discovery may help destroy bacteria that are no longer something to modern medicine. Of course, they are no longer, or they are immune to modern medicine. Okay, they are no longer vulnerable, maybe, or modern medicine cannot hurt it or destroy them. Let's see. Deadly, safe, and successful. Resistant, no. Careful, serious. Again, prehistoric, unsuccessful. No longer destroy bacteria that are no longer resistant? No. Responding may be the answer. responding. Okay, it's very difficult to find the meaning here, but it's logical. Okay, no other answer can provide the true meaning. Responding, bacteria that responds to modern medicine is when modern medicine has an effect. Responding. Next, what needs to be done now is to find out how something, the antibiotics, will be. How effective, how powerful, how something like that. Okay? Deadly? Maybe, but when we say deadly, we are referring to the virus. So we will put this in mind, but let's carry on. Safe maybe. This is definitely actually the answer, because as we have seen here, Kanu was pioneer the research here. That is now intends to establish whether the antibiotics might have harmful side effects. Does it have, or do they have harmful side effects? Yes, no, maybe. If so, how safe? Again, let's continue seeing if there are any other answers. Resistant, significant, successful, just a particular place, responding, preserved, careful, no. So the answer here is safe. How safe? Next, microbes that seems to have the characteristics of modern diseases will have to be killed. Or ancient diseases, prehistoric diseases will have to be killed. So maybe prehistoric diseases, because here they say that the samples might be contaminated. Let's see here. All right. They will be destroyed in case they escape and cause new epidemics. So if there are viruses in the insects and they escape, they might cause an epidemic. An epidemic is when hundreds of thousands of people are infected and you cannot control the disease. They talk about the Ebola epidemic or the Black Death epidemic in the medieval times. But regardless from that, we are talking about they have to be destroyed, killed. So microbes that seem to have the characteristics will have to be killed. The characteristics of what?